Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander, Tough Rules, and Cool Interactions, episode 128. Today's episode is going to be a subscriber-requested video, and it's a goofy little situation, and I know of a few other cards to add to it with some similar effects that you might see popping up in some of your games. So, on to their comment. The Alcoholic 83, like the name, said, "Hey man, I got a question about something that came up last night in a game. One guy had recreated the Sheldon deck. You did this to yourself, and he cast a Deflecting Palm, while another player had Dictate of the Twin Gods. We couldn't agree on how the damage would work out. Does it increase twice?" So now let's check out the cards that he mentioned, starting with Deflecting Palm, which is an instant that says, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller. And then the next card is Dictate of the Twin Gods, which is an enchantment with flash, and it says, if a source would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So the question here becomes, does this result in the Deflecting Palm dealing double damage back to the source because of the Dictate, or is there a way for the player playing the Deflecting Palm to further increase how much damage is being dealt back to that player? So what's going on here? The Dictate is a replacement effect, and the Deflecting Palm is a prevention effect, and in order to solve this, we will need to take a look at what the comprehensive rules says about replacement effects, prevention effects, as well as what to do when there are multiples of these effects trying to replace or prevent the same thing. CR 616.1 says that if two or more replacement and or prevention effects are attempting to modify the way an event affects an object or player, the affected object's controller or the affected player chooses one to apply, following the steps listed below. And I'm not going to go over all the steps, just the one step that I want to mention is CR 616.1F that says, once the chosen effect has been applied, this process is repeated, taking into account only replacement or prevention effects that would now be applicable until there are no more left to apply. So let's clear up what our scenario is. Your opponent controls the Dictate and they attack you with a 10/10 creature. You cast the Palm, and the source you choose is that 10/10 creature. You don't block, so when we get to dealing damage, we now have the Palm trying to prevent the 10 damage and the Dictate trying to double it from 10 to 20. Your opponent, being the controller of the Dictate, doesn't matter. You're the player that's being attacked and being dealt that damage, so you're the one that decides the order of how these events apply. Option A is that you pick the Palm to prevent the damage first, but what happens to the Dictate's replacement effect if there is no more damage? CR 614.7 says that if a replacement effect would replace an event, but that event never happens, the replacement effect simply doesn't do anything. So for option A, the Palm would make it so that you would be dealt no damage, and the Dictate would then try to double, but there is no damage for it to double, and so it wouldn't double that 10 damage. But that's not all the Palm does. It is more than just a prevention, as it will now deal an amount equal to that prevented damage back to the source's controller. So now we have 10 damage being dealt to your opponent, and the Dictate will see that damage and double it to 20. But now let's see what option B would be. It may not make sense for some players to want to double the damage that they're being dealt, but let's see what happens here. You pick the Dictate to apply first, and so the 10 damage from the creature doubles to 20, and then the Palm prevents it, and now the Palm will deal an amount of damage to the controller of that source equal to the damage prevented, and the Palm will try to deal 20 damage to your opponent, but the Dictate will now see that damage event happening and apply it, trying to double that damage from 20 to 40. Some of you may be saying, well, this doesn't happen because replacement effects can only apply to an event once. But the Palm is not a redirect effect. it is causing a new source for there to be of damage. The first time the dictate applied to the damage, it was from the creature. And then the second time the dictate is going to try to apply to that damage, it is a new source of damage, which is the deflecting palm. So this is a really neat way to quadruple the damage from your opponent and send it back to them instead of to you at all. If you want to actually recreate this in some of your own games, then you can check out some other cards that have similar effects to these, similar to the dictate, like Furnace of Wrath, and then a card that's similar to the deflecting palm, which is called Comeuppance. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that some of you even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. And again, thank you to Alcoholic83 for the comment. I always appreciate getting a chance to answer these subscriber requested questions. Have a good one. Ta-ta!